today's recipes are inspired by easy, accessible, store-cupboard ingredients. I'm going to show you how to use everyday kitchen staple ingredients and turn them into some exquisite, delicious, incredible meals. I'm going to share this Speedy Sardine Linguini, an old recipe taken from my ebook Home Cooked Wonders, but it never ever fails to deliver. Every time I cook this one, it blows my mind. I'm also sharing with you this very simple but very effective smoky aubergine lentil coconut dish. For more of my recipes, be sure to head over to my website where you can check out all of my ebooks over there. If you have anything to ask me, drop me a comment, let me know which recipe you'll be trying out first. Let's jump into this first one. We are going to kick things off with my Speedy Sardine Linguini. Like I mentioned, this one is taken from my ebook Home Cooked Wonders. You guys know I always have tinned fish on hand. I always have a tin of sardines, multiple tins of sardines. So we're going to be using, some sardines for this. If sardines really are not your thing, if they're just not palatable for you, you could definitely swap out the tin sardines, and of course you could use tuna, you could use some tinned mackerel. You could work it so it's actually enjoyable. I know that sardines can be a bit too much for some people. We're gonna need some chili flakes, some herb de Provence, and I'm gonna throw a little bit of oregano in there as well. So we are going to need some extra virgin olive oil. I'm gonna be using this really tasty bottle. It's from a brand called Jola. It's actually a Turkish extra virgin olive oil. I've been pouring this on everything. The star ingredient in this are capers. Don't leave them out. Do not sleep on capers. It really just adds an extra punch that I think just makes this recipe. Some cherry tomatoes, which we're gonna chop up and cook down. They're just gonna be delicious. Lots of fresh parsley. So some pasta of choice. I'm gonna be using some linguini. I used spaghetti for the original recipe, which is in my ebook. But yeah, for today, we're using linguini. We're gonna chop up some onions. We're gonna throw some garlic in there. Finally, slicing our garlic. I do like to slice it for this recipe. So chopping up your garlic however you choose to. For the original Speedy Sardine Spaghetti recipe from my ebook, I actually left the cherry tomatoes whole, but I just feel like chopping them in half today. But yeah, you could keep them whole if you just want to skip this step, just to save a little bit more time. To make it extra speedy, you could skip this step of chopping them up. I'm gonna finally chop up this white onion. Make sure you have a steady hand and you're using a sharp knife whilst finally dicing the onions. So grabbing a large pan, heating it on a medium heat, drizzle in a little bit of olive oil and then place in the chopped onions and garlic. Season with some salt, some pepper, and you can also throw the chili flakes in too. Reduce the heat in the pan if necessary. You do not want to burn the garlic. You just kind of want to soften everything. You want to unlock the flavor of the garlic, so just be patient with it. So when the onions and garlic begin to soften, you can then throw your cherry tomatoes in, just stirring everything, combining all of the ingredients. You can go ahead and add in your herbs. So I added in the herb de Provence along with some extra oregano just because it's just one of my favorites. I also added in a few more chili flakes, a couple of ingredients that you might think, will that work? But trust me, it does. I splashed in a touch of tamari and I drizzled in a little bit of maple syrup too. This almost caramelizes the onions and those cherry tomatoes. They are going to taste unbelievable. So grab a large pan of water and bring it to a boil. You can heavily salt your pasta water. Place in your pasta of choice. I placed in my linguini. I then chopped up lots and lots of fresh parsley, and I chopped the parsley, like finely chopped it. So I removed my sardines from a tin. I always like to buy sardines in olive oil when possible. So I just placed my sardines into a bowl, just simply crushing them to get them ready to throw into the pasta dish once we put everything together. So once my pasta was cooked, once it was al dente, I went ahead and threw the pasta into the pan, along with a touch of the pasta water. I like a lot of capers in mine. That fresh parsley. If you're not sure about capers, I can almost guarantee that this recipe will change your mind on them completely. Just look at this pasta. I'm sure you can taste it through the screen. It tastes as good as it looks. We're just gonna add one more ingredient. Let's throw these sardines in. When I say this is a speedy recipe, believe me, I mean it, but we're not compromising on flavor. We can still have speedy, easy food. Olive oil. That tastes delicious, that actually feels really good. Of course, I finished with an extra bit of parsley and some more black pepper and a good drizzle of olive oil. And then I just served this gorgeous Speedy Sardine Linguini up.
Yum.
Throwing all of those cooked down cherry tomatoes on top. Added a little more parsley, olive oil and black pepper.
You know that recipe that you haven't made for a while and you start questioning, why on earth haven't I made this sooner? Yeah, this is really delicious.
We're gonna put together this smoky aubergine coconut lentil dish. A few simple steps for this really, really delicious dish. I'm gonna be using some beluga lentils because that's what I have on hand. Because I don't have a gas hob, we're gonna be putting these aubergines on the grill until they become soft and they're collapsed, and then we're gonna flavor them up in the pan with lots of onions, chilies. We're gonna need some garlic, some ginger. We're gonna use some tomato paste. I'm gonna cook this recipe with some ghee. I might add in a little bit of butter as well. Let's see. I've also got a tin of coconut milk that we'll be adding in at the end. Spices that we're going to use include some cardamom. I'm gonna use some cumin seeds, and I'm also going to be using some lime leaves too. We're gonna finish with lots of fresh coriander. I will probably serve it with some white basmati rice. It's a perfect recipe just to batch cook. So we're gonna begin just by putting our lentils to cook. These have been soaking overnight. I'm gonna give them a good wash and rinse, and then put them in a pot with some fresh water. Of course, if you want to use pre-cooked lentils, you can, and you can skip this whole cooking process step. So wash the lentils until the water runs clear, and then go ahead and place them into a saucepan. We really wanna make sure that we get these lentils soft, so it doesn't even matter if you kind of like overcook them, the softer the better. You just do not want them hard at all. No hard lentil. So cover the lentils with some fresh water and place in some salt. You can cook them on a medium heat, and then you can reduce the heat and then just put the lid on. In the meantime, we're gonna char these aubergines. I'm gonna do it on my grill. If you've got a gas hob, then obviously you can just do it on the fire. If you have a griddle pan, you could also use that. If you have none of these things, but you have an oven, you could definitely just kind of wrap them whole, pierce them, wrap them whole, and let them cook in the oven. So the aubergines don't explode, just pierce them. These are kind of big. I think I might just, okay, let's do 2, but I think 1 will actually be enough, but I'm gonna do 2 just in case. I'm gonna rub them with a little bit of olive oil. I placed the aubergines onto the grill, just keeping an eye on them, and continued with all of the other ingredients. So I finally chopped up my white onion, and I grabbed some ginger and garlic, just grating it very, very finely. I wanted it almost like a paste. I chopped up a couple of finger chilies. These actually were not that spicy. You just kind of use a chili that you like the heat of, that you can handle. Okay, so I'm gonna place a little bit of ghee into the pan, and I'm also going to grab a little bit of butter and put that into. So onions, minced garlic, minced ginger, and those chilies. Keep everything moving in the pan. And again, just be patient. Be patient with the ingredients. Just cook it down low and slow. We're going to place all of our spices in. So the cardamom, I like to just keep the pods whole. And I've just crushed a little bit of cumin. And I'm going to throw some lime leaves in there as well. So removing our aubergine from the grill. Doing on the grill will still add like a smoky charred flavor, which is so, so delicious in this recipe. So don't worry if you don't have a gas hob, you can still do it this way. It will still work. I'm gonna let these cool down for like 10 minutes or so, then I'll peel them and I'm gonna throw them in with the onions. So a little bit of tomato paste. So combine everything, and you want to let the tomato paste sizzle in the pan for a good few minutes. You want to let it cook down. So once the aubergines have cooled down a bit and you're able to handle them, you can either cut them open like I did and just like scoop out the flesh, or you could peel them. And then we're going to place it now into the pan. So this is where the magic really happens in this recipe. This is the step that cannot be skipped. You need to allow the aubergine just to absorb all of those spices, absorb all of that delicious, wonderful flavor in the pan. So I placed in a little bit of salt, just letting the aubergine cook for a few minutes. I'm gonna give the lentils a taste. Like I said, I want them really, really soft. Very, very soft. If your lentils are soft, but they haven't absorbed all of the water, meaning you've got some excess water in the pan, it's absolutely fine. You can just drain the water out. So go ahead and place in your cooked lentils, whether you're cooking them like I did from dried or you're using some pre-cooked lentils. Go ahead and pour in some water, just mixing everything, and then cover your pan. I will check on it in about 10 minutes or so. For the meantime, I'm actually going to cook a little bit of rice.
Just to let you know, I added in some coconut milk and a little bit of butter to my rice.
The lentils are looking really good, really tasty. We're gonna pour the coconut milk in now.
If you want a coconut alternative and you're fine with dairy, you could use some double cream for this. And if you want a dairy-free coconut alternative, you could definitely use something like oat cream. So you wanna cook everything for a further 5 to 10 minutes. So mixing everything well. One of the final steps is just to throw in a little bit of garam masala. So we're also gonna chop up some fresh coriander, some cilantro. If you want to skip the coriander, then you can. You don't have to throw it in, but I love lots and lots of coriander for this recipe in particular. Giving everything one final mix, your kitchen is going to be smelling so good. Yeah, so all that's left to do is to serve this smoky aubergine, lentil and coconut dish up. I placed those lentils over the rice. Look at this, topped with a little extra fresh coriander, a little bit of some yogurt that I had in my fridge. I don't know, I just throw furikake on everything. So I threw some on and chopped up a little bit of fresh chili.
Squeeze a little lime over.
Are you gonna be trying out my Speedy Sardine Linguini first, or will you be making this smoky aubergine lentil coconut dish? Let me know in the comments. I'm about to take a bite. In fact, I'm gonna go sit down and enjoy this plate of food. I will see you all in my next video, which will be very, very soon. Bye.